God's Purposeful Women podcast. I'm your host, Erica Smith, joined with my sister and co-host,
Tiffany Janvier.
Today we have a special guest. We have my niece, her daughter, Miss Brittany Jordan.
Yay!
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
Of course. So today's topic, she kind of gave us an idea to talk about baggage. She didn't call it baggage when she told me. She was talking about, some things that you grew up with that you probably should, unlearn and, learn new things. And essentially I was like, I think that sounds like baggage. And so that's what we're talking about today. But I want to give a definition of baggage. So we're all on the same thought.
Okay.
So baggage, give me 1 second. So I'm gonna give you the definition that I'm gonna give you two definitions. So one definition of baggage is personal belongings packed in suitcases for traveling. And I wanted to read that one because it says it's packed for traveling. And it gives you the idea that your baggage, it's gonna go with you somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And so the second definition of baggage is past experiences or long-held ideas regarded as burdens or impediments. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Brittany, what are some baggage, some good baggage or bad baggage that you see right now in your adulthood that is good or bad that you brought with you?
Well, I'd have to think.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Miss Janvier,
Yes.
what is some baggage, some good or bad baggage?
I would say one bag that I had to drop off was the bag of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Our family, there's a lot of fear, that spirit of fear, and you don't realize that that's what it is until you really work on yourself. So I was always fearful to go out there and do things that people may say stuff to me about or whatever, but at the same time I am a go-getter.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just going out there, you just never know. You don't know what that next step is going to lead you. So I had to drop off that bag of fear.
Mm-hmm. I say for me, we grew up, my single mother, and money was tight, and so now I'm super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super cheap because of, and it's not like a bad thing that you have, because it actually taught me how to manage money. Now I have a huge family, I have to learn how to stretch dollars. So I said that's a good baggage, is living in an environment that there's not a lot of money. It taught me something.
Mm-hmm.
What you think, Brittany?
Yeah, now that I'm listening to you all's examples of baggage, I'm recollecting ideas of what my baggage could possibly be, and that might be like expectations, like trying to meet other people's expectations, whether that be my mom or family or just society or my followers on Instagram, just trying to meet expectations. And I had to really think about my why, and why am I trying to meet expectations, or why are they important to me, or whatever the case is. But I think that ties into being a little bit of a people pleaser and a little bit of a perfectionist, because it's I'm not gonna lie, my mom had to she sort of everything the way it was. So it's in me, it's everything has to sort of be how I like everything. I don't want to say perfect because I'm not a perfectionist, but low key, it's a little bit of that. So I've just had to learn how to just let things go and to just focus on my why.
That's good, Brie. I think another bag that I had to drop off was worrying about what people thought of me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't really care what it is that you say, or maybe because I've experienced so many times you know, people mistreating or saying things to me, sometimes in my face and sometimes not. But just the bag of worrying about what people think, like, we're not here for that, you know, so just dropping off that bag and so I can pursue what it is that God has for me to do or whatever it is my heart's desire. Just dropping off that bag.
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate to that. Like, I still deal with that to this day, and it's hard to avoid it. Sometimes it's like subconsciously that it's like trying to please people or, you know, caring about what other people think of you. Sometimes it's so embedded in like just how you move, sort of. Like, you get up, you get dressed, you don't want to go outside with a bonnet on because you don't want people to think you're crazy. So it's just so much embedded, you know, into just our everyday life. So sometimes it's hard to let that go, but it is relevant, especially in my age. At my age, I'm 25, and my generation of being on social media, and you know, you're putting out this presentation of yourself. Not to say it's fake or whatever the case may be, but that's not everybody's story. For some people, it is fake, and they do care a lot about what people think of them. So I think that's probably in everybody's bag, a little bit of that.
Well, I have one. Closed-mindedness. I'm around a lot of people who are just very closed-minded.
Yeah.
Very closed-minded. They do things one way and that's it. Like, I learned a new route to the grocery store and I'm trying to tell people and they're like, no, but you gotta go this way. I'm like, but this is quicker. Like, so I've learned like to be a little bit more open-minded. Does it get me to the store quicker? Like, so we, you know, grew up eating the same old stuff, spaghetti, you know, hot dogs.
With or without the hot dog bun.
Right. We grew up.
We didn't use the bun as a big yes. We used the bread. Remember, it was just the bread.
Rob still be trying to use the bread, but I be telling him we got a little bit of money now. We can buy the bun.
Right. So just eat the same old stuff, and I'm like, my husband had to introduce me to salmon. Am I saying the right salmon?
Salmon.
Right, he does that to me too. He's like, you're not even saying the word correctly. He has introduced that to me and many other recipes that I didn't grow up eating. And I was like, this is so weird, but it's delicious. It's delicious. But I wanted to read the scripture in Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And it says, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God and to those who are called according to his purpose. And I wanted to read that because every childhood experience we, you know, experience, it left us with baggage that could be good or bad, and God could use it for his glory.
I think there's a reason for everything. So, you know, he doesn't just allow certain things to happen just because. There's a reason why certain things happen. And so once you have that understanding that, okay, God is in control of it all, there's a reason why I'm struggling with this thing or not. There's a reason why I had to go through this or not. Then you have you kind of have a better understanding of what God is really trying to do in your life.
Right. On one topic, I wanted to talk about friendships. Some friendships can be hard for me because some of my girlfriends will come in with a lot of baggage, and you know, you're always trying to, like, you know, help them and give them advice, and sometimes you take on their baggage trying to help them. Like, do y'all have those situations? Like, how do you deal with those situations?
I'm at the point now where I know my friendship relationships may have been lacking because we weren't like-minded. Like, I've realized, like, I have a few high school friends, but high school friends and like adult friends are different because in high school y'all was in the same place every day. Y'all was just hanging around the same people. But when you get to your adult life and your life start changing, y'all go through different routes and you have different motives. You know, those relationships may not stay the same or they may not stay at all. So it's like now I'm at the point where I have to be around like-minded people who have similar goals or whatever the case is. But being that I do still have like high school friends, sometimes their baggage does come on to me because it's like you want to help them, or, you know, and I'm an empath, so I get empathetic with people's problems. Like, I want to help them, I want to like care for them or whatever the case is. But I've had to learn to just like sort of what mom does is just redirect them to God and then just sort of let it go and not try to internalize so much of what they're going through.
That's good.
That's, you know, I had to learn that, to redirect them to God. Because I was at one point carrying not only my load, but their load. And I, would get exhausted and, couldn't understand why, because I'm carrying other people's stuff. So I learned to really direct them to God. He's the only one that can help you, at the end of the day. So, I mean, I'll listen. I'm a listening ear. And I may give a little bit of advice, but ultimately I'm going to redirect you to who can fix it.
Now, let's talk about relationships and baggage. Any of you guys want to speak on that?
What do you mean?
Like, okay, so in dating someone, like, I want to know your baggage right up front. I'm going to ask you 100 million questions. And that's just me. I want to know those things. I'm not going to just be like, oh, I'm too scared to ask them. I'll ask later on, I want to know, like, okay, you have a good relationship with your mother. Like, do you know your father? Like, how many children do you plan on getting married? Like, all the things. I want to know all the things up front.
So, so I'm married now, and I've been with my husband since I was 18. He's a few years older than me. But I didn't really have much of a dating life. But even at that time, I knew I wanted to date to marry, which, looking back now, I probably should have been worried about dating to marry because I was only 18. But I was asking those questions at 17, 18 years old. I wanted to know everything, like, that could be potential red flags. Like, I wanted to know, just sort of all those things that you mentioned. And it wouldn't be coming out like 100 questions on the first day, but I knew to sort of, like, break it up upon the day or whatever, or slide a question in there just to play it off or whatever. But I think it's important to know some important things in firsthand, because it just will determine whether you want to stick it through or if y'all journey is going to be complicated or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've dated. However, when I talk to people or my friends and they're still, out there dating, looking for a husband, the advice that I give them is, yes, ask those questions, that you guys mentioned, but you got to go a little bit deeper to find out where the real baggage lies. And so some of those things are generational. Like, how's their parents, their grandparents, their great grandparents? What were they involved in? Things like that, because that's really where you're going to identify some characteristics, some traits. And I know it's kind of weird because nobody really is going to be asking questions about your grandparents or stuff like that. But I need to know, because that tells a story. It tells a story, and I think it's very important for you to know those type of things versus surface, because when you're first dating, everybody, they're not going to give you everything.
Right.
They're not going to give you the truth. So, in conversation, I want to know about your grandparents. I want to know, were they together, stuff like that.
I was gonna say, like, it needs to be like, I know, like, in some families, like, the culture is you bring the person you're dating to your parents, so your parents can get an idea of the person. But I feel like that needs to be more common.
Yeah.
So that your parents can actually get a feel and give you some advice on it. Maybe your person that you're dating didn't say it, but your parent can pick up on a red flag that you may not see. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you brought up, like, the grandparents, because, like, I've learned just with my husband that that's important, because although I did ask him those questions, if their perception isn't like 100% reality, then the answers that they're going to give you is skewed. So, like, we discovered years later that a lot of his relationship inspiration came from his grandparents and the way they interacted. So it was a thing of that didn't come up till later. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes you do have to get deeper, and sometimes you may not really fully understand that person until you see up close in those situations where he's interacting with his family or whatever the case is. But it's hard. How do you go about those questions, or how do you go about that without seeming to, like.
Yeah, I'm not going. The first couple of days, I'm not going to, run you 100 questions. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to get those questions in. If I was in that situation, I would get those questions in, because you have to know, because things skip generations. So you want to know general information about their history. Because things travel from generation to generation. So that's just part of it, but also spiritually. Everybody say they go to church and then they pray, but what is your relationship like with God? Because, if I'm looking for a husband, for the ladies, if I'm looking for a husband, I need to know, are you hearing from God? Because you are, you're going to be leading the house. So, now it's like, okay, do you hear from him? Do you hear him? What's your prayer life like? So I need to know spiritually, where are you? Have you read the Bible?
Right.
I mean, these are things that I tell my friends. Like, these are some of the things that now, looking back, because I've been in a relationship for a long time. Those are some of the things that's very important.
Right, and I understand, like, everybody has baggage. Everyone's going to bring something to the relationship, whether it's good or bad. It's just about, are you personally willing to deal with that thing? You know what I mean? Whether it's, like I said, a no-brainer, ladies, he needs to be a Christian. That's a no-brainer. Like she was saying, he needs to be spiritually sound. But other things, like, okay, if you notice, like, if you go on dates with him and you see his house and you see he's messy, okay, that's a red flag. He about to.
But why are you messy? Like what? Right. Like what is causing you to be a hoarder? Mm-hmm. Like there's something. Yeah. Things. There's something deep there.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important to pay attention to all of those signs, because it's like, if you don't pay attention to it on up hand, like on first hand, when you first see those things and you just maybe it's just today, or you try to give the benefit of the doubt, just keep those in mind. Like, you got to pay attention to those signs, because they're going to come out later. Like, there's a saying, I don't know word for word, but like, when people show you themselves, like, believe them.
Oh yeah, you should believe them.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about baggage, if what you prayed for is not showing up, then you need to wait until what you prayed for show up.
That's right.
So why are you even going to consider taking that bag on, or that person with that bag? Like, why?
Right.
You asked specifically for a certain person, and the counterfeit thing showed up. Mm-hmm. So why are you even going to entertain it?
So that brings me to unmet expectations. Brittany, you said that earlier. There's a scripture in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12, and it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. You have to be very careful about your expectation in your relationships, friendship, dating, relationship. You have to be very careful about the expectations, because there's a reason, like we said, why someone could be messy. It goes deeper than the surface, level. So, and then you're upset because you're like, well, I thought, when we finally got married, that he was going to help out cleaning, and you just have this expectation like everything's going to be grand, and it's just not that way.
Don't even do it to yourself.
Right.
Don't even do it. And like, you need to know like the why certain things are what it is, but just the thought, like how people think. Why do you even think that way? Like, is it because of daddy issues? Is it because of mommy issues? Those are bags. Like, are you willing to carry those tote bags? Mm-hmm. So,
I just think people have to understand everything's deeper than what it is.
Yes.
Like, understanding why people think. Not everybody thinks that deeply, and not everybody thinks is that serious and all the things. I mean, I do, clearly, we do. We have a desire to want to know more about why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. But I think anytime you're in any sort of relationship with anybody, whether that be friends or whether that be a loving relationship, whatever the case is, you have to want to know, you have to think deeper, because everything is deeper, everything is spiritual, everything starts from something. Like, so, you know, everybody just has to like do their due diligence of just asking why.
and explore healing from traumas, from whatever the trauma may be, whether it's your childhood traumas or relationship, whatever. Seek healing so that you can be whole, and know what baggage looks like.
I was gonna say, Brittany's wearing the perfect shirt for today. Jesus and therapy.
I was just about to say that.
Go ahead.
Guys, Jesus and therapy. You would be doing yourself a disservice if you don't have Jesus and therapy, because when you are hurting, your elbow's break double, your elbow's broken, who you go to the doctor? You got a toothache, whatever, you go to the dentist. If you're having problems up here, you should go seek therapy. Like, it's just a thing that you should do, and it's okay to have therapy and Jesus. Just like God created doctors, God created dentists, God created all these different professionals to help you. He created therapists, so just go seek that.
So you use a therapist, right?
Yeah, I stopped my services a few months ago because I was in service with her for a few months, and I just felt like, okay, you helped me with what I needed at that time. I can go on my own.
Yeah.
But now I'm at a point again where I started stressing about different things. I'm in school, I work, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, just all these different things and different goals. So I'm considering, going back into therapy. But yeah, I did have a therapist, and me and my husband did see a couples therapist before we got married. And it's just, I have nothing but good things to say, because ultimately they're just helping you see yourself, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes you need input from the outside looking in, because our perceptions of ourselves may not be what it is in reality, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about therapy.
Yeah, I'm willing to go to therapy at some point, because I mean, not that I need it, like, and there are degrees, I feel like, where people may feel like I need to understand why am I reacting this way. But yeah, I really want to try it out one of these days, because we kind of had a traumatic childhood, I guess. To me, it don't seem traumatic, but to others looking in, they're like, wow, like, that's traumatic. Like, you didn't seek counsel? I'm like, no, I'm just out here living my life as, childhood and adult, and not even knowing that I'm carrying something from that. Because to me, maybe I just thought like it wasn't traumatic. I just made it like a facade. I adapted to my environment, and I didn't think it was a thing. But when people looking from the outside, like, hold up, how'd you even get through that? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I need to take it. I think at some point I am interested in,
and like Brittany said, it helps you see you from a different perspective. So, you're going through life thinking you're okay and there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying you per se,
right,
but you're going through life thinking nothing is wrong with you. You got it all together, but your friends, your family can clearly see that there's something, that you need to address. And if you don't heal from the traumas of life, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because you can let go of some of those bags, and be free. So I think it's very important that you seek some type of healing, whether it's a therapist, a mentor, a coach, someone else to help you see things from a different perspective.
Have you been to therapy? Mm-hmm. Are you in it now?
I have a mentor right now.
Okay.
So this has happened recently to me. So my sister talked about us dealing with fear, and so there was something I wanted to do for the longest time, and it seems like silly. Like, I wanted to join the choir at church forever. I always wanted to sing and join the choir, any church I was at, and something was always stopping me from doing. I would tell myself excuses as to why I can't. Or they got enough people, or they don't have a choir stand. They just have praise and worship. Like, I would tell myself all these reasons as to why. And recently, and with the encouragement of my children, I was like, you know what? This is the season I'm going to do it. I'm going to push forward and do it. And I told some people on my God's Purposeful Women group that I was attacked in trying to push through with something I always wanted to do. But the Sunday that I finally sang, actually this past Sunday, I dreamt of something, and I felt like it was a release. Like, I released something that had been keeping me bound for so long. And so, yeah, I recognized that there was baggage there. I needed to get over that fear. I needed to get over whatever that was.
The bag of fear.
And I pushed through, and I finally was able to do it. And so now I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have any more issues. I can do this confidently now.
I think that's huge, and I think that's common within our family is self-doubt, because it's an extension of fear. But man, when you overcome self-doubt in a certain area of your life, that just feeling of like, wow, I overcame this, is just so like big, and it's something that you want to keep feeling, and it's something that that revelation itself is just so beneficial. And I think, like I said, I think that has been something that's been a baggage in the family, and personally I can relate to that too, because sometimes I still do it, like self-doubt, and again, subconsciously, like I don't do it on purpose, right? But sometimes when you just start thinking about things too much, all the what ifs and all the doubts, all the negative things just start to, play along into that also. But one thing I've learned, or I came to realize, is that typically anything that you're really scared to do or talking yourself out of is typically something that you're supposed to be doing. And clearly the enemy just wants to distract you from doing it, because clearly he knows that you need it. But I think that's why the revelation of coming over it is just so big.
Right.
I had another thought. I'm trying to remember. She said something that was what you said was really good. I'm trying to remember what my thought was. It was about self-doubt. So I remember what it was. So to me, sometimes I'll look at my life and I'll be like, well, I haven't accomplished anything, and not like the world's idea of success, but from my personal view, my idea of success is different. Like me being married, having children, and I'm sane, I have my right mind. You know what I mean? We're going to church. Like that's success to me. But for the longest time, I was like, I haven't done anything. Like it doesn't. And so what I'm talking about was like what I wanted to do when I was in high school. Like I was like, man, I wasn't even strong enough to continue that path. Like I can't do anything. You know what I mean? And so that held me down a lot too, because I'm like, well, I haven't done anything that I feel like I should have been able to do. Yeah. But as I grow, God has shown me there are feats that I have gotten through. Like I recently had a baby without epidural. Like I always wanted to do that. My 5th child, I finally did it. And I was like, wow, I was able to do something, but I kept telling myself I wasn't.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's actually something I talked about in therapy, like that feeling of not meeting your own expectations. Because like with me and my college experience, I didn't go right after high school. In fact, I transferred to maybe 3 or 4 different schools, depending on where I was living at or what my goal was at the time. But just the journey to get through college, and then the roadblocks or the life changes that happen in between, sort of like, it just changed my path around a little bit. Like I had a daughter before, I'm still in college right now. Had a daughter and got married before I got my degree. And sometimes you can just overthink about your journey and just be disappointed in or compare yourself to other people. Like, oh, they were able to get that done super quick, but it's taking me forever, or whatever the case may be. But sometimes I forgot. I know where I was going with this, but I got distracted. But I think what I'm trying to say is that sometimes you just have to appreciate your journey and whatever that might look like to you, because God will reveal to you. And that's what I was gonna say. My therapist, she just helped me appreciate my journey, if that makes sense. She helped me to realize that, okay, I did want a family before school. Like family was more important to me than school was at one point in my life. So I accomplished that. I'm happy with that part. If I have nothing else, I have a beautiful, healthy daughter. She just really helped me to appreciate the fact that it's not about when you get there, it's about how you get there. So, yeah.
Anything else you want to add? Well, I will close us with this scripture. It's Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. And it says, therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. So I thank you all for joining us today, and that's all we have for you. See you next time.
Bye.